Earlier today, an Obama-appointed federal judge in Louisiana handed down a decision blocking the implementation of a state law that required the Ten Commandments to be posted in all public schools and college classrooms by the new year. Now, the judge said the law is, quote, unconstitutional on its face. Well, there are many people who disagree. Joining me now is one of them, the Attorney General of the state of Louisiana, Liz Murrill. Attorney General Murrill, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you. It's great to be with you, Tony.
So, Liz, let me ask you your initial reaction to the ruling.
Well, of course, we strongly disagree with the ruling, but I can't say that we were surprised by it. We actually anticipated this ruling so much that we filed our motion to stay with the district court judge before he ever ruled and before the hearing, so that he would rule on our motion to stay at the same time that he issued his ruling, and we could move it up the Court of Appeal immediately.
The landscape for religious freedom and exercise in this country has changed significantly under the current Supreme Court and decisions that have been made, which would open the door to revisiting what happened in 1980 when the court struck down the posting of Ten Commandments in the schools. So this is a new era. This is a return to the exercise of religious freedom. So it would look like the landscape is pretty promising for this to make its way through.
Yeah, I think that this bill meets the current constitutional standards. If it doesn't, then we will press that issue as well. And we will press the precedent. But I believe that this law should have survived and does survive under current Supreme Court precedent, which allows us to post the Ten Commandments as long as it's posted inside a historical context. If the district court judge is correct that current precedent doesn't permit this law in its current form, then I think, we press forward with challenging that precedent.
So this is temporary. This is just a lot. This prohibits from going into effect. What's the timeline of the actual adjudication of this case before the court?
Hard to say, because he's now issued an injunction that gives him the benefit of time. He can sit as long as he likes. The plaintiffs can kind of sit as long as they like. We obviously would like to move it forward for a final ruling. I certainly don't think that his position will change, but I would point out, and I think this is important, Tony, that only 5 school boards were sued. And I think it's a misunderstanding of Louisiana law to treat the Bessie board as the supervisor or legal, having any legal control over all the other school boards in our state. They are separate political subdivisions, and they are not subject to the injunction.
Okay, so a very good point, Attorney General. So how many schools then are actually affected by this, and how many can go forward, and how will that be enforced?
Well, legally, only the 5 school boards that are defendants and the schools that are part of those subject to the control of and supervision of those school boards. So I think that, they strategically chose the school boards they wished to sue, and the injunction is in place right now. It might not be after we file for our stay in the Fifth Circuit. So it could be that within the week, we obtain a stay on the ruling and everybody is back in business. But as it stands now, it would just be 5 school boards who are subject to the injunction.
So the vast majority of the state moves forward with adhering to this law that requires the posting of the Ten Commandments in the classroom.
Well, that's right. Although I would, I think realistically, it will chill the conduct of some of those school boards. I mean, school boards are sensitive to being sued. Now that this injunction has been issued, they will be fearful of being sued. They aren't defendants now, and they can go forward and comply with the law. And if they do, then that lawsuit would likely track along this one. But it would more than likely also have to focus on how they are actually implementing the law. And that's been our point all along, is that the law on its face is in fact constitutional. It tracks Supreme Court precedent. It allows and Constitution requires that the Ten Commandments be posted with other documents and placed in a historical context. That has not happened yet. So there's no actual poster posted in any classroom that anyone can point to and say that poster is unconstitutional.
Well, General, I think it's very important that you come on and articulate this, because I think the way the press reports this is it just, it has a chilling effect on the entire state, when in fact it's just these 5 school boards. And as you said, the state has appealed this decision, and you may have a clear path forward by the end of the week.
Well, and the judge actually went further and directed Bessie and Cade Brumley, the superintendent of education, to send notices out to all schools advising that the law has been declared unconstitutional. But that's not legally correct. He declared the law unconstitutional as to 5 school boards who were defendants and Bessie. And, but those other school boards are not defendants. His ruling, he has no jurisdiction over those school boards at this time.
General, we're up against a break, but very quickly, do you have to comply with that order?
They do not. They're not subject to his jurisdiction.
Okay, very good. General Murrill, I want to thank you for joining us. Thanks for fighting for religious freedom in the state of Louisiana. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tony.